Welcome, everyone, to the BS3 Radio YouTube channel. We'll be talking week 2 of the NFL. And what a week 2, man. A lot of injuries. We'll be talking some top games from yesterday. Also, we have a game on tonight. And it looks like it's going to be the father and son duo, BS3 and BS Jr. So we're going to rock this thing tonight. Whoever's available, we keep this thing going no matter what. If I'm not here, Tyon and Courtney will be able to do it, and whoever's here, we'll get this. We'll continue this show going no matter what. So great to have you on tonight.
Well, it's always good to be on. We're gonna do what we need to do to keep it going. But it's an honor and a privilege, and always good to be on to talk sports with you.
Definitely. So make sure that you guys subscribe. Make sure you click that bell so you can be on top of all the content that we put out each and every week. And let's get right into it, man. Week 2 was a tough week for injuries. That's what we're going to touch on first, just because a lot of major players being out. And the biggest one in particular is Saquon Barkley, which I think is everything, honestly, for the Giants. And for them to not have him, I think is going to be major. And I think their season's pretty much over. I mean, I could be wrong. I know I'm a Cowboys fan and they're in the NFC East, but if you don't have him, he's the one that builds and starts everything for your offense. And I think that's going to be a major problem for them going forward.
Yeah, I agree. That's a devastating loss. This young man, had extreme promise, and he was doing well, and it's surprising. You never know in the sport of football, especially in the sport of the NFL, you never know when an injury may occur. And this young man was in top shape. I mean, he had thighs like tree trunks and go down. And it wasn't a physical tackle. He was more or less tackled, but he was on his way out of bounds. And I don't know if he planted it wrong, but the ACL, they did the MRI and it's torn. So he's out for the season. And with the basketball players, how hard it is to come back from that injury, and the football players. But I know he's going to work out. He's going to do well. But it wasn't a freak accident, but it wasn't like he was actually hit directly on that knee. It's just the way he came down. And, I agree. The Giants season is basically over. I mean, Danny Dimes, he can do as much as he can. But without that running game, you don't have that play action opportunity. So, it's going to be hard for them to come back after that,
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And that team is traditionally is a run team and pass is secondary, in the defense. So it's going to be a lot riding on Daniel Jones, especially the rest of the season. So that was one major one. And that one hurt me because I play fantasy football, for those that know or don't know. And he was my starting running back. So I'm going to have to regroup. I'm going to have to figure out what running back I'm going to look for, because that's another side of this is if you play fantasy football, that's going to be an issue. But I think this is it. I think that's it for the Giants. The Washington football team is playing well. The Eagles will get back into the mix, and the Cowboys. I mean, to me, it'll be those three fighting for that top spot.
Right. And, we don't have Courtney on tonight, so I'm not going to Eagles too hard. But, maybe this will give, Wentz a little energy to know that he's going up against the Giants. That's going to be minus Saquon Barkley. But he definitely needs to turn it around. He had 2 bad games to start off the season. So it depends on, if he tries to do too much and end up getting injured himself. I think there's a curse on the NFL this year because they didn't do justice when it came to Black Lives Matters, and they didn't step up to the plate like the NBA when it came to social justice and racial equality and police brutality. And just look at the NBA; they're just floating right along, no major injuries. But
Right.
I think it's the curse now. I know you're going to get into my 49ers, but man, that they was devastated. But yeah, that division is much wide open now. I mean, I'm looking at your Cowboys. I mean, they 1-1 now. If they stay healthy, because Prescott is rolling. Now Zeke, he's a little banged up, but I think they, it's pretty much, to me, it's a shoe-in for them.
Yeah. And you kind of segued properly. The 49ers, the majority of their starting roster, Kittle was already out. Moser, which had a huge run on the first play of the game,
right?
He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. They said Jimmy G may be able to come next week. Nick Bosa, I just got this message, on my phone right now that he's going to be out for the remainder of the year.
Right.
So it's an extremely tough time for the 49ers because you're losing a lot of your weapons. Right. What do you do, going forward? I don't know who the backups are. I know they're running back. They kind of have a stable that they could probably figure that part out. But the quarterback spot, missing, depending on how long Kittle's going to be out, and that defense, and I think Solomon Thomas was another guy that was out. So, I mean, you're losing so many players. How do you move forward? It says it's uncertain with Solomon Thomas, but I think they'll bounce back. Let me give a shout out to Taryn Rodriguez. Thank you as always for coming through. Huge supporter. Hopefully you got your award and your gift card to you. But talk about the 49ers and how this is going to affect them, especially this early in the season.
Right. Well, I mean, to me, it's going to be pretty devastating. It's going to take a while to bounce back. I mean, you're looking at, Nick Mullins. He's the backup quarterback, so he'll end up probably, having to start a couple games. And I mean, when you look at Garoppolo, his injury, and that's the thing about it. You're looking at ankles and knees, so you look at the lower extremity, which is hard. When you're looking at the National Football League to come back from, because you take so much pounding and so much punishment from the lower extremity. So like you say, Nick Bosa, he's out with a knee, and that's probably a season-ending injury. Solomon Thomas, I mean, he's another defense. So now you got two of the defensive ends that's coming from the corners. He's out with a knee. And then you have a Mozart who's also out, with a knee. So you're talking about, a running back. That's going to be devastating for them to try to bounce back from that. But they have a pretty good stable when it comes to running backs. So I'm looking at, a couple, at least another 4 weeks. It's going to be tough for them to come through, and hopefully they can come through and they can bounce back and hold the fort down, until the major troops comes back. But that defense, man, they've been playing good on defense and they've been stabilizing those corners, so with them two out, it's going to be tough when it comes to that defensive line being really devastated. So I think they got hit the hardest when it comes to all of the teams when you look at injuries. But I mean, they got an excellent coach. They should be able to ride it out and at least hold the fort down, hopefully, until Mozart gets back healthy.
Yeah. It's early in the season. That's if there's a positive side to this. It's early in the season, so you don't have to be too worried. You do have to be worried, but you don't have to be too worried because hopefully they can come back. Terrence says Chargers could have gone 2-0, but the rookie mistake and Anthony Lynn not rolling the dice on 4th and 1, giving the ball back to Mahomes. Yeah, that was a mistake. We're gonna touch on that game on the show tonight. Other injuries: Cortland Sutton. He's a number 1 target in Denver, and the quarterback Drew Lock.
Right.
Von Miller's already out, so we already know about that one. but Denver's getting hit so hard. I think their season is all but over. I don't think there's any way they're going to be able to recover when you don't have your, really your defensive presence, and when you don't have your starting quarterback for 2 to 4 weeks. It's going to be hard to come back from that. And I think that's going to be a problem. But I think it just goes back to not being able to have the preparation for yourself, for your body, for you to be ready. A lot of that stuff matters. Some people may, take it lightly, but these things make a huge difference. So Denver is going to be struggling, and the fact of the matter is they're in a division with the Chiefs. So the chances of them winning, to me, is going to be extremely tough because Patrick Mahomes is going to be Patrick Mahomes, and it's going to be extremely hard to get past him in the first place.
Right. So we know that's going to be tough, for them, and have your quarterback to go out like that is going to be tough. And I agree. I mean, it's the way the season has basically started. Unfortunately, a lot of it was out of the players' control, but you don't have that opportunity to work your way in to the season, because normally, when you look at preseason, the actual starters aren't playing as much, and they have time to get acclimated to the speed and to the toughness and what's required in the regular season. But now, without, because normally preseason they would come in, they would play a quarter or two to kind of get acclimated. But now, with no preseason, they have been thrust right into the game itself, which is going to be hard, going to be really hard for them to adjust. So Denver is going to be tough. They got this young guy, Jeffrey Driscoll. And so, don't know too much about him, but he's the backup. He's got some size on him. But he played for University of Florida. So, he's got some experience in the SEC. So we'll see. But, when you look at Herbert, no telling. These young guys may come in and step up, at least hold down the fort. He ended up throwing for 256 and 2 touchdowns, and they hung with the Steelers. They only lost by 5 points. So with that game on his belt, we'll see what he can do. But with that defense being hurt like that, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. This is a completely different season than what all of us are used to, because there's so many injuries and so many things, so many distractions and so many things that are going on, all kind of swirled around in one year. Michael Thomas is going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. The Saints play tonight, so we'll touch on that. We'll keep you updated on the score. I'm not sure if the game has started yet, but Michael Thomas being out 2 to 4 weeks could be a potential problem for the Saints. And I think Drew Brees is, he's still a top quarterback. So for him, I think he'll probably be able to find, somebody to get the ball to. So I don't think that's going to be a major issue. And then tonight, they debut as the Las Vegas Raiders in the new stadium.
Right.
I want to see the game just because of that. I honestly don't care who wins or loses, because I'm not a fan of either team. Right. I want to see that stadium. I think the Raiders got a new lease on life, and we'll see what exactly they do with that. But I think that's going to could possibly be a major concern for the Saints, with them going to be missing Michael Thomas for 2 to 4 weeks. Let's see, any other injuries. Christian McCaffrey is another major one. That one was announced 4 to 6 weeks. And a lot of these injuries are lower body injuries, knees, ankles, which is what you need to cut, what you need to make moves. And Christian McCaffrey is a huge part of the Panthers. But I'm interested to see how Teddy Bridgewater and that team together will respond, because they're not a bad team. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, a lot of things are filtered through him. They are right now 0-2. So there's probably going to be a little bit of fire and heat on that team. I'm gonna look up and see who is the backup. I believe the backup is, let's see, Mike Davis.
Right.
So I don't know how much run Mike Davis has gotten. I mean, he's probably hasn't gotten that much. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge without having McCaffrey. But Teddy Bridgewater's got the legs. He's got the weapons at wide receiver. So it's almost like he just needs somebody to fill in, until McCaffrey can come back.
Right. And, I mean, he's had the experience, Bridgewater. So I got confidence in him. I mean, he had a decent, passing game. He threw for 367 against the Buccaneers, but he had 2 interceptions. And that's the thing about it. He didn't have any touchdowns. And McCaffrey, he's the one that's basically can get you the TDs, either running or throwing out of the backfield, as well as play action. So he's going to miss his presence when it comes to the touchdowns, because he had 2 touchdowns against the Buccaneers, and basically he has 59 yards rushing. So, but they got a couple good receivers. I mean, you're talking DJ Moore and
Right.
Robbie. And I mean, they both, caught over 100 yards. DJ Moore had 128 catches, and Anderson has 109 for 9 catches. So he has some good receivers, but now it's about getting into the end zone. When you get into the red zone, McCaffrey, he was the one that really took you over because of his athletic ability and because of his he has just a nose for that goal line. So they're gonna have to worry about. I don't think he's gonna have a problem with getting the yards, but getting in the end zone may be an issue. And now I hate to keep dwelling on this, but now you look at we talked about the curse, because you look at Cam. I know you're gonna talk about Cam a little later on, but you see what they did with Cam, and they were dependent on McCaffrey to more or less pull the load, and Bridgewater to be the more manager, because he's a good manager of a game, because he very rarely make mistakes. But he turned out he did 2 interceptions, and now McCaffrey is hurt. It's going to be interesting to see how the Panthers deal with this particular situation they're in now.
Yeah. I mean, this is next man up. A lot of these situations are truly next man up. Who's going to step up? Who's going to be able to play? Who's going to be able to fill in? Because there's injuries all across the board. But yeah, we would definitely talk about Cam. We're definitely going to talk about that Sunday night game, which I thought, we had 3, I think, absolutely great games that went down to the wire on Sunday. And those, the Seahawks and the Patriots, Cowboys, Falcons, Chargers, and Chiefs, those really lived up to it. Devontae Adams, another guy that's on the injury list. I don't know what his situation is. I haven't heard, anything lately on him, but that's another problem. And Aaron Rodgers will find somebody, I think, to throw the ball to. I don't think that's going to be too major of an issue. He's still that bad man, like Stephen A. Smith likes to call him. But let's get into the games here. The first game up, we're gonna talk Falcons Cowboys. Let's go ahead and do it now. Man, this is a game that the Cowboys should not have won. I said this earlier. The Falcons made a huge mistake, and they had a 20-point lead, and it's like the Falcons just enjoy giving away leads. I don't understand that. I don't know if I ever will, but it's a struggle if you're a Falcons fan, knowing that you were up 20-0, knowing that Matty Ice or Matty Lukewarm is having a great game, was throwing the ball all around the field, really had 2 touchdowns early. I mean, it just looked like a great game. They were getting turnovers early on. There's no way that they should have won. The Cowboys should have won this game. They got away with one. But I have to say, Dak Prescott had his best game, I think, of his career.
Yeah.
I think we have a field goal kicker that actually make kicks. So that's a huge positive. But give me your take on this game. Were you expecting going into the game? Were you expecting the Cowboys to win?
Going in, yes, I was expecting the Cowboys to win, but I wasn't expecting it to go down the way it did.
Right.
I wasn't expecting them to get down as much as they did, as early, and even in the second half. And a lot of the commentators are calling for the coach's head, for the Falcons. They're calling them the Atlanta F team. What F team means, F up team. But you got to look at the history and what happened in the Super Bowl against the Patriots was devastating, and now this was devastating. So I wasn't surprised that the Cowboys won, but it's just the fashion that I was surprised. And it's the same problem. When you look at, you got Todd Gurley as your running back. And he, rushed for 61 yards. And
that's nothing.
That's nothing. He had 21 carries. Zeke had 22. In the week before that, he only had 14 carries. So it's the same problem. You're trying to get Matt Ryan, his numbers. He had 4 touchdowns, 276 yards. He's got 726 yards passing for these first 2 games, 6 touchdowns. He has the numbers, but it's about winning, man. It's about using the best strategy to close out the game. And the best strategy when you have a lead is to run the ball. It doesn't make any sense. It's like you're trying to get the quarterback the glory in spite of losing the game. And here we go again. It's the same problem they did when they played against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So, to me, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I'm glad the Cowboys won, simply because of the fact that because the Cowboys made some errors when you look at that first half, and you were like, wow, is it over? But no, they're still playing the Atlanta F team.
And really, I got to give the Cowboys respect because they stuck in this in a game where, like I said, they should have lost, number one. Number two, the early mistakes. When was the last time Zeke fumbled the ball in any game, let alone twice? But that player, I think his name was Forsyth Akunle, with the Charles Peanut Tillman punching out that ball.
Right.
Like they just were after the ball in that first quarter. Dak ended up having an error and a fumble. So this was it was a bad game early on for the Cowboys. They stuck in it. They stuck in it throughout the entire game, and that again just tells you the game is never over till it's truly over. There's always an opportunity for you to get back into the game. There's always an opportunity for the other team to make mistakes. So the game is never over until it's truly over. And this was a prime example of that. So they just continued to fight. They continued to fight at it. And they end up coming away with a huge surprise win, thanks to the early Christmas gift from the Atlanta Falcons players are not picking up the ball. I knew that rule. I'm sure they probably knew. I don't know if they just froze up. I don't know what happened. I know they called a timeout, so they had time to talk about it. It wasn't as if they just ran right into it and they didn't have time to talk. So you just got to make, at the end of the day, you got to make better decisions with the game on the line. And people are calling for the coach, but they've been calling for this coach for so long. I don't know if he's got that Jason Garrett type contract.
Right.
He may not get fired for the next however many years until he gets to 10 years because they do win games.
Right.
It's not as if they don't win games, but they don't win. They don't win the major games, and you made it to the Super Bowl, but you did not win. So, like you really just you gotta find out, is he the guy to get you to the next level. And it sounds like he's not that guy to get you to the next level. So that was the first game that I wanted to touch on. Look at the stat sheet. Dak had 450 passing yards. The touchdown had 3 rushing, zero turnovers.
Right.
I think the fumble, I think they were calling that fumble on him. Maybe that was that a fumble on he got sacked once. And that was a good thing. This O-line was not blocking that well, but they did. It was only 1 sack that was allowed. So Dak was running around. He was being mobile, but he was only sacked once. So I think that's on a positive note for this offensive line. That is a good thing. Zeke 22, 89, and big shout out, star up to CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. They both had over 100 yards.
Oh man, the catches they were making were just phenomenal, man. That sideline catch,
yeah,
that Amari made. I mean, but you're right. I mean, Dak he's on fire, man. I mean, he's putting that ball in the places that they need to be put. And we were on GroupMe, and facetiously, I had to make a comment. They changed the rule without my knowledge. And even though I have to admit, I never seen an onside kick that went the way it went. I mean, this ball, okay, first of all, normally I lay it sideways on the tee.
Right.
Didn't use a tee, put it directly on the turf.
On the ground, yeah. Sideways, yeah.
On the ground. And when it kicked it, it was swirling around. I mean, it even looked weird. So I don't know if they knew the rule and just the way it looked, they was afraid to jump on it because the way it was swirling, it was like if we try to jump on it, we're not going to be able to control it, and they may get it. But then you can't wait till it goes 10 yards when it's right, when you got 5 men around it, the whole 10 yards before it gets 10, and then you allow them to have a couple, 2 or 3 men around the ball. So it was just a perfect, onside kick, and it was just a blunder when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons team. I mean, these players, you got to know the rule. Regardless of what it looks like, you got to jump on that ball, man, as soon as you get on it. But it was awesome. I've never seen an onside kick ball swirl and turn, and it was turning, it was twisting, and it was moving in different directions. I mean, it was just phenomenal.
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever seen that like that before. But Zuerlein has always been touted as one of these guys that can kick field goals. He's got a big leg, but what he did on Sunday, to me, puts him as one of my favorite kickers in the league. And I don't think he missed any kicks in the game too. And
right.
To be able to kick that game winner, there's going to be pressure on you. So here's the thing: just because you get an onside kick doesn't mean you win. You still got to get the ball. You still got to go down the field, which they did do that. And then they got him in field goal position. And I got nothing but props for Zuerlein. I'm glad he's on the team. And this was a big win. This was a confidence win, which that's what McCarthy talked about in they had the little not post-game conference, but that was him and with the team, them doing their huddle after the game.
Right.
And he was just like, man, this is a confidence win. No, it wasn't a great win, but it was a win that you had to have. Shout out to Miss Mocabella. Thank you for tuning in. One of our major supporters, a supporter of the year as well. Thank you. But all the Cowboys fans are living on cloud 9 right now. All of them are excited. And then the thing that a lot of Falcons fans were talking trash. A lot of them were. I was getting messages, people putting all types of memes out there. I was just sitting back being quiet. But today I went off on the show earlier. So go back and listen to that show, BS3Radio.com. I went off on all the Falcons fans just because, you don't talk trash till the game's over with. That's not my motto, but that's what I try to do. Because then when you turn around and lose a game like they did, that's a hard loss to get over. That's not one of those you can just erase and say, well, everything is fine. We'll just bounce back. That's not one of those losses you can bounce back from.
Right.
It's hard. That's a heartbreaking loss. So Calvin Ridley, the star wide receiver for the Falcons, 7 receptions, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had one heck of a day. And then Dalton Schultz was a big contributor, 9 receptions, 88 yards. It really doesn't get any better than that. You're able to spread the ball around. That's what I liked about this game, especially with Dak. Even Noah Brown got a catch, which he hadn't played all last year, and I forgot he was on the team. So Dak's just doing a great job. He's going to get paid, and I don't care what anybody says. He's going to get paid.
Well, game is like, the Super Bowl, like I mentioned before. They're up 20 the first quarter, and half they're up 29-10. And during the Super Bowl, our pastor down here, we're in Atlanta, and he was all on Facebook, man. He was halftime, and he was just shouting, they gonna have a parade, and that's typical. That's a typical Falcon fan. You get somebody was messing with you at halftime. They get all excited and overconfident, and then this coach loses it. Instead of doing the fundamental thing to do, which is run the ball, they try to get Matty Ice, even though he didn't throw any interceptions, but you kept giving the ball back because you had no control at that point. You wasn't controlling the clock or the ball.
Yeah, it was just a heartbreak loss. Like Mocha Bella said, the Falcons fans were talking trash when they were up 28-3.
Right.
In the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's what happens, man. Do not talk trash till the game's over with, because there's always an opportunity, especially with the Falcons, especially just the way, if you got Zeke on your team, if you got Amari Cooper on your team, a guy with his hands aren't 100%, sure, but if you put the ball in the area, he's gonna catch it. CeeDee Lamb is the number one. We got 3 number 1 wide receivers at this point.
Right.
I said that earlier. I think Gallup is right there, number 1, and CeeDee Lamb is only going to get better. He's a rookie, and things don't look too fast for him. That's somebody mentioned that, earlier today. He just looks like he's supposed to be there, and that was a great pickup in the draft. So we'll move on from that one. Cowboys win in a thriller, 40-39. I think one of the best games of the day. Let's go to the night game. Patriots at Seattle. Seattle had no fans. That's a big part of what they do. The 12th man is what they call it. Call those fans. They weren't there. But it was a great game from beginning to end. I was expecting it. I think Cam and Russ, obviously, two of the best quarterbacks, I think, of all time. But Russ just showed why he's an MVP candidate and should possibly win the MVP. 5 touchdowns. And it wasn't like he threw them to one guy. He went Swain. I didn't even know who he was. Swain got one. Lockett got one. DK Metcalf was a great pass to him. That was one of the best passes of yesterday, of Sunday's games. And David Moore. I mean, he was just throwing it everywhere. And then on the flip side, you look at Cam that had an absolute great game. 2 rushing touchdowns, had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I mean, list lived up definitely to the hype. I can't wait to see them possibly play again in the future. But give me your thoughts on this game, and then we'll talk about the last play of the game. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Man, I tell you, this game was phenomenal. It was going back and forth. It was 7-7 first quarter, 14-14 first half. And Russell Wilson, this man is not only he's an excellent quarterback, but he's an awesome leader. And the dimes he was dropping, like you already gave the list of receivers that he basically had hit, But when you look at it, 6 different receivers, and the way that he was hitting them, and it wasn't these short across the middle passes, even though he only had 288 yards, but he only threw 28 times. So he had some long receptions that were just right on the money. and the passes to Metcalf, I mean, and Lockett, I mean, they were just, man, it was awesome. And the 5 touchdowns, I mean, you know, this guy, he's on target. You know, I think him, and I always look at the little big man over in Arizona, but I think they're two prototypical quarterbacks that's not the norm of the NFL. I mean, Cam is the norm. What, Cam, 6'6"? You know, he's a norm, big and strong, but you got these guys 5'8", 5'10", and not the norm, but prototypical when it comes to running and being able to be elusive. And that's the thing about Russell Wilson. I mean, he's so elusive, man. I mean, because even though he's 5'10", he's under these or behind these 6'6", 6'5" linemen, and he can just duck and dart, and next thing you know, he's out of the pocket and he's slinging it downfield. I mean, it's just awesome the way he was able to throw that ball in this game, man. I'm telling you, it was an awesome game. And Cam, I'm so proud of that brother. You know, they didn't run him as much, and you know, he ended up throwing for 397 yards, and he was throwing it down the field, and he was on target. And I can tell that shoulder is in good shape because these balls the Cam was throwing, man, was right on target. And when you look at, you know, his receivers, he was basically, you know, Edelman, 179 yards, and that was Tom Brady's favorite receiver. So he's going back to Tom Brady's receiver. He had 8 catches, and then he had 72 apiece for Harry and Bird. So he was throwing it around. I mean, he ended up with 7 different receivers. So he was gunning it, and he was sharing the ball. And I'm glad they toned down the carries, but he still carried for 11, wasn't 14. It was 11. Oh, you're going to get to that last play. But, you know, come on, Belichick. You got a good thing going. You can't, you know, just try to go too far and take advantage of his skills and his ability, because just like like you mentioned, that last play you're going to talk about. But, no, it was an awesome game, man, and I'm so proud of Cam, and I'm just praying that he stay healthy. You know, when you look at the injuries earlier, we were talking about the injuries, and the whole thing earlier was, you know, the coronavirus and how will the team survive COVID-19. But now, you know, they tested all the players. It's the second week. Nobody tested positive. So they got that under control. But now you just got the typical National Football League or football injuries now taking its toll. And I think, like you mentioned before, without that preseason, it was going to be kind of hurting them. But Cam and Russell Wilson, man, they took this preseason. It's off. So I'm not going to say pre. I'm going to say off season. They took this off season serious. You can tell they took care of their body. They're in top shape. They're in top form. Man, it was an awesome game.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely lived up to the hype. Shout out to my man Neil. He said they cracked under pressure. I don't know if he's talking about the Patriots. But check out his channel. Make sure to click on the link. Man, he's funny, talking about marriage and talking about just life stuff. So make sure to click on his channel and follow him in the future. But I was so excited for this game just because of the quarterback matchup. You know, I watched the game week 1 with Cam, but I wanted to see week 2, especially with a huge test. Shout out to Courtney. Thank you to Courtney Harden checking in. Said, sorry, I'm missing this one. No problem, man. You know, we get, it's like a revolving door. Whoever we have on, we're gonna make this thing happen. But I appreciate you, Courtney, as always, man. So it lived up to a great game. It came down to the last play of the game, which we'll talk about that right now. I don't think it was the right play call, and I'll get your thoughts on it too. I just think they were too far out to run that play. If they were like on the 2, on the 1, I could see all Ken would have to do is fall forward and he's in the end zone. But running that play, and I'm not gonna say I didn't know that that's what they were going to run. A lot of people said, "Oh, everybody knew they were going to run that," but I thought they were going to, you know, do a bootleg. Then that gives Cam possible room to run, or, you know, put a couple, you know, trips receiver, put receivers all on the right side or on the left side. but at least kind of change it up. This to me was kind of a basic play that was ran. I didn't really see anything creative that would have helped them get this touchdown. Now you got to give it to the Seahawks defense, because that defensive tackle who basically came in and busted up that play, and that's what it kind of ended up being, a wrap. But give me your thoughts on it. Do you think that was the right play call, and should they have called a different play?
Well, no, I don't think it was the right play call, even though it was, as far as percentage-wise, it may be a high percentage play. But when you look at, like I mentioned before, Cam was the leading rusher. He had 11 rushes for 47 yards. And the week before that, he was the leading rusher for 75 yards. So the issue is, when he's your leading rusher, then when it comes to running the ball, he's your first option. So you didn't have another option when it comes to another running back, far as the defense is concerned. And so, of course, you're going up against the Seahawks. So they got an awesome coach. And they're going to understand that if you don't have any play action options, because the last one he ran, or the play they ran where he had that wide open touchdown when he faked it, then something to that nature, like you say, a bootleg, even get creative, do a reverse or something, just to try to run him off tackle, was something that was too simple at that point. You're talking Pete Carroll here now. You're talking about, Hall of Fame coach. So you got to be more creative. And you got two Hall of Fame coaches with Belichick. That's what I'm saying. Belichick, I don't know. He's maybe getting a little bit too comfortable with Cam's running ability and his size. And, he hasn't had a quarterback with those legs when it comes to Tom Brady, who he had before. So he may be getting a little bit anxious and taking advantage of Cam's ability and running ability and size, to where he's not really using him in a more creative way. So I thought he should have been a little bit more creative. That's why I didn't like the play. And when you look at, Pete Carroll on the other side of the ball, you got to do something more creative than that. So I didn't like the play, and I don't like the point that they're running Cam as the number one rusher for the second week in a row. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and when you think about it, James White, and rest in peace to his father. His mother, the last time that I checked, was in critical condition with the accident.
Mm-hmm.
So he did not play, but they have more in the stable than just Cam to be able to run the ball.
You got Sony Michel can run the ball.
Right. True. Yeah, Sony Michel. They had Rex Burkhead. They ran him 6 times for 2 yards.
Right.
And then they had JJ Taylor, who got 1 carry.
Right.
So you got, I think, on that play, which is always, hindsight to talk about it, but I just think that wasn't the right play to run. Obviously, if they would have scored a touchdown, we would be saying they scored a touchdown and it was a great play. Mm-hmm. So when you don't get the touchdown, there's going to be this type of criticism. But that Cam had a great game, so we can definitely say that. They lost in a close one. I didn't know how close it was going to be, because Russ has been working with these guys during, like you said, the downtime, during the offseason, doing whatever you want to call it. He's been working with these guys, and the team's been together. Cam hasn't really been on this team that long, right, but you can see he's got a relationship with Edelman. And this team is going to be good. I think they could go on a deep run into the playoffs. I think they got a huge chance and a huge opportunity to go on a run. So I'm looking forward to both of these teams, both of these quarterbacks. Looking forward to the remainder of the season. Let's get to the next game, which was a thriller also. You start off the day, and it's released that Tyrod Taylor is has a chest injury. Now, when I heard that, I didn't know, was it a bruise? Was it a rib? Was it something? Because then when you hear chest, to me that could mean a whole bunch of things. That could mean he's having heart pain or whatever. So that one kind of caught me off guard. The latest story says he's recovering well after chest pains because he was sidelined because of a pregame injection. It was another story that comes out. But Anthony Lynn has said Tyrod's going to be the starter no matter what. There's no question if he is healthy, he's going to be the starter, which I think that's the wise thing to make. But I do think at some point, Justin Hibbert is probably going to take over at some point this season. The one little glimpse that he got, and this kid, balled out, especially against the Chiefs defense, to me is there's really no bigger test than that. But I think Tyrod Taylor obviously has more experience. He has more ability. And Anthony Lynn, I think, trusts him more than he trusts Hibbert so far. But this was a great game. I mean, to see the Chiefs go down, I was surprised because I was kind of flipping in between games. And they put this game on at the end, kind of as a bonus game. But I was surprised that was the outcome of the game. I was expecting this to really be a blowout, especially with Tyrod Taylor not playing. But you got to give your hats off to the Chargers. To Anthony Lynn, and just to this team as a whole. Shout out to Jay Ray of the No Phony Podcast Network. Thank you for checking in. Make sure to check out his channel. He does album reviews and a lot of other great things on there. But it was surprising to see. I'll let you give your take on this one.
Well, I wasn't aware of the injury either. So, it was definitely a surprise to me. But when you look at, Tyrod Taylor last week against the Cincinnati Bengals, and, Cleveland Browns just torched him. So he only scored 16 points, and he threw for 208 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, of course. But now, to me, I've always considered Tyrod Taylor as a game manager to where he's not going to make mistakes. He's going to keep you in it, and he's going to make plays when necessary. But this young guy, man, I understand you don't want your starting quarterback to lose his starting position over injury. And I'm not sure when you say chest and injection, I'm not sure what's going on. But, Justin Herbert, he threw 311 yards, 22 of 33, one touchdown. And I think he made a couple mistakes at the end, but he's going to learn from that. So I think they'll bring back Tyrod Taylor, and that's their future, basically.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to give him some more times to more or less get some experience and be able to witness and get some counseling and some support. But eventually he's going to be the starter. And I was impressed. The young guy played well, especially you're talking about Super Bowl champs here.
Right.
So it wasn't any old team, and they went into overtime,
Right.
And thank God for that superb kicker the Chiefs got. What he kicked? Three.
50. Well, he kicked 50. Right, 53. He kicked 2 53s, and then he kicked the 58.
Right. So, when you look at that, how well they did, then I'm gonna say, well, that's definitely the future. But I think they'll let them, come under Tyrod Taylor a little bit more, get a little bit more experience. But I was surprised they hung in there the way they did. That defense is no joke.
Oh, true. One of the best defenses in the league. And yeah, this kid played, the best game that you could play, as a rookie, number one, but then playing against the Chiefs. And I was blown away. When that game came on, I thought, okay, the Chiefs should be up by 10, 15, something. But it didn't turn out that way. They did win the game thanks to that kicker. Thanks to Patrick Mahomes getting them in the field goal range, and they went into overtime. So that was one of the big games, of the day. And the Chiefs are only this season is extremely long. The Chiefs, the next game up, they play at Baltimore. That's going to be a great game on Monday Night Football. Wow, it really doesn't get any better than that. Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Since we got a little bit more time, let's touch real quick on Lamar versus Deshaun, which was I thought should have been a better game, but we talked about this before. Deshaun does not have the best offensive line, and he does not have, I don't think he has the best possible team around him. So every week they're 0-2 at this point. I didn't expect them to beat the Chiefs. I didn't expect them to beat the Ravens. Next up, they got the Steelers. So I don't know. I just don't understand how this season was handled, how the offseason was handled. And I think the O-line is still just not good enough. And that's going to continue to be a problem for Deshaun Watson. I want this kid to play out his entire contract. But if he has to run almost every single play because he doesn't have good enough blocking, how long do you expect him to actually play and this whole entire contract? So give me your take on this one. Lamar was being Lamar, had a great game.
Yeah. Before we get to that one, I just one more thing I want to say about the Chiefs. Mahomes, man, he just has that swag about him, and he's like, so what? We're down. It's like, there's never a deficit too big that gets him down to where you don't think he can't come back.
Yep.
And that's something that, you really can't train for. You really can't, see that type of confidence. And I know because his father was a Major League Baseball player, that he grew up in a household with athletes and professionals. But, that was just awesome how you can never count him out. And he's been doing it his whole career, But yeah, I feel bad. I really do. I mean, this is unfair, man. I mean, it's sad to where Deshaun Watson, I mean, coming from his background and coming from, a championship as far as Clemson and the collegiate and winning a championship, and then having a coach that's so sensitive that you have a disagreement or you don't see eye to eye with DeAndre Hopkins, which is, got to be one of the top 5 receivers in the league.
Right.
And you trade this guy. I mean, you got to swallow your pride. You got to do what's best for the team, especially for your franchise quarterback. And then you're not putting protection around him. And I mean, it's sad for him to be in this particular predicament. But, it is what it is at this point, so you're going to have to do the best you can. I just hope he doesn't get hurt, and hopefully, they can find some ways, to get some wins. But, it's going to be tough. And like you say, Lamar Jackson, he just, he's doing his thing. He didn't have a great game. He had a pretty good game, 205. He only had 1 touchdown throwing, and he had 54 rushing with no touchdowns. But the highlight of the game, and me and Moms was talking about this, when Ingram, you see when Ingram ran that touchdown, and his touchdown excitement when he did a roundhouse body.
Yeah, I did see that.
I mean, that was the highlight of the game. I'm like, this guy, he's got to have a black belt. I mean, that kick he spent so fast, man, when he did that touchdown celebration, and he kicked that backstop of the end zone. That was amazing. And I was telling Mom, I said, yeah, that's Lamar Jackson hype, man.
Yes, that is. that's his what's Chuck D and that's his Flavor Flav.
Right. That's his Flavor Flav. But that was awesome, man. So I'm excited about what they're doing. They're 2-0, Baltimore, and they got a great coach, and he's going to put him in the right position he's in and keep him in that position. And he got RG3 as the backup. So I mean, he's got experience. He's got an MVP that's in his ear. So he's always going to do the right thing. Great coach in Harbaugh. So they're going to be great this year. But yeah, I feel bad for Watson though. I really do.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't have. He doesn't have a fair shake, and maybe he won't have a fair shake until the coach is fired. But the problem is, he's the coach and the GM. You gave him more responsibility instead of taking responsibility away. And Deshaun, his look, when they panned over to him on the sideline, he just looking like, again, like we're going through this again. It's only week 2, and he literally looked exhausted. I mean, he literally looked like this is going to be every single week for me, which it's not fair how he did get paid, but if you're going to pay somebody, don't you want to win? Isn't your end goal to win a championship, or is it just to pay, the one guy and see what happens from there? So whatever, I think they have a good center at Nick Martin. He's the brother of the other Martin, I think Zach Martin, that's on the Cowboys. So they do have a good center. They picked up Laramie Tunsil. So I don't know if it's the interior part of the line and the right part of the line. I don't know what part of it is, but it just seems like he doesn't have enough time. So he's immediately got to run and got to figure out what he's going to do. So we'll see what happens the next week. Let me see who they're playing the next week. Oh, they played the Steelers. I already said they played the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and that's going to be a tough test because the Steelers are always one of the best defensive teams. They just knocked out the Denver quarterback, so they're going to be ready to go like they always are. So I just pray hedge of protection over him because it's a long season, and he's already been getting hit after week 2.
I know. He may take a little injury and decide that he needs, a couple weeks off, to heal. I hate for the brother to be subjected, that type of abuse, but I mean, he still got a couple good receivers, Brandon Cooks and Randall Cobb. So, but it's protection. That's the problem. He needs the protection. And I mean, with Hopkins, he had the same issue, but you just throw it up there.
Oh yeah,
Hopkins,
his hands.
His hands, man. Not only his hands, his gloves, man. His gloves. He got web gloves. If you ever noticed the gloves he be wearing, but I don't know if he got stickum on them, but they got web glove. But you just put it in his vicinity, he gonna come down with it. And I know, man, little big man, Kyler Murray, he's excited because he's reaping the benefits of them trading them, to Arizona.
Right. And just to touch on that one real quick, Kyler Murray, who had a great game, they beat the Washington football team. I was about to say the R word, but I didn't say it. Taryn, I know you're listening. You like my checker. You let me know when I say the R word. I didn't say it this time. But the Cardinals are 2-0 right now. They're looking good. They're looking good. Their next matchup is against the Lions. You could probably pencil that in as a win. And then they play the Cowboys in week 6, which that'll be another great matchup.
Right.
So, giving a quarterback like Kyler Murray a weapon when he already had Larry Fitzgerald. Now, Larry Fitzgerald is older in age, but still, he's probably still one of the best, possession wide receivers. He's going to run his route. He's going to get open. All you got to do is, put the ball on the money for him. So that was a great pickup. And I'm going to be watching that team extremely closely. I know you're going to be watching it well when, little big man, and little mini legs. I'm going to call him little mini legs because his legs are so small. His little legs be moving so fast. But, hey, he's
a cartoon character when he's running, man, I tell you.
It's like those wheels when they're
Yeah, the wheels be going fast, boy. But yeah, he did another 8 carries, 67 yards. You know, he had 286 passing. So, and because of the quarterback, because of that relationship with his head coach,
right.
you can see that they're on the same page, and he's putting them in the right position, and he's making sure that that he's calling the right plays for him to be successful. So, I mean, last year it was just training ground for him to get a year on his belt, but now you can see, and you know, and similar to Mahomes. I mean, far as his experience, you know, he got that baseball experience as well. So
Right.
that scrambling experience that comes from, you know, playing outfielder. So I'm excited about what's in store for him this year as well.
Definitely. Definitely. So as we get to the end of the show, we do have a game on right now, which is New Orleans and the Las Vegas Raiders. New Orleans is up 3-0. That game's on ABC, ESPN. Give me your pick on who you have winning. I'll go ahead and say I got the Saints winning. I don't think it's gonna be easy, but I just think the Saints have, even without Michael Thomas, they got too many weapons, and that defense has improved. So I'm gonna go with the Saints in a close one.
Yeah, I got to go with the Saints. I mean, you know, you got Drew Brees and Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame quarterback. You know, so I got to go with the Saints. I've never been a Raiders fan. You know, even though we were in the Bay Area for 35 years, I always was a 49ers fan, even though I lived on the East Bay. But and you know, mom's worked in Oakland, so
Right.
he, you know, she had that connection as well. And you know, your uncle, he's a diehard Raiders fan who's in Oakland. But I never been a fan. Gruden, I mean, he's a good coach. We'll see what he's going to do this year. Hopefully, he can, you know, make a little run. Hopefully, Derek Carr can stay healthy. But I just think the Saints got too many weapons, too much experience. So I think they're going to pull it out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the shows, bs3radio.com. Visit the website. It has been updated, so make sure that you check that out. Also, the Suds Are Us podcast, the logo is up on the website. It's on Spreaker.com/BS3 Radio. So it's coming very soon. Can you give us any sneak peek or any other news with the podcast?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, you know, Sons of Us, we're coming. We want to basically give some insight on our concept for success in the circle of love. And you know, we always put Christ first, and it's going to be focusing on marriage, life experiences, not only for a marriage couple, but just in general. But the circle of love that starts with Christ, you know, life, marriage, and we're excited about getting a part of your broadcast, and we're gonna try to debut, give you a birthday party, or give you a birthday present. So just give a little sweet peek. I mean, you know, you're talking about 45 years of friendship and 38 years of marriage. So we've been around a long time, and if you've been tuning in, I changed my backdrop, so you notice I got, you know, a couple pictures in the back. You know, if you can recognize the small picture, that's when we were in high school. That's prom picture, and then on the left, that's a more recent picture. So we're excited about sharing what God has blessed us with in the concepts of the circle of love.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I have a coworker that asks me almost once a week, when is your parents doing the podcast? Well, David, if you're watching, the podcast is coming very soon. They are ready. They're excited. I've been working with them, so we're going to definitely get this thing going. Also, we just added a new show. Will Walker, he has a show called Will's Take on Sports. He does, I believe, 3 shows a week. So he is coming on to BS3 Radio. He's a Dolphins fan, so he's disappointed. They're already 0-2, but he has great sports takes, and we're looking for more shows. We're gonna build this to where it's bigger than Spreaker. If you know what Spreaker is, that's what the main platform is. We're building a network that'll have sports, music, life, relationships, comedy. We're looking to have something for everybody. So if you're interested, you can reach out to me in any way. BS3 Radio, all avenues of social media. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Dad. We're dynamic duo tonight.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Well, you guys have a good night. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to click that bell. We'll be back. Al High. Oh, real quick, before we end, Al jumping in the building. Also, DeAnthony Thompson in the building. He was on the show. And appreciate you guys coming through. Better late than never. Always good to see you guys jumping in. But we'll be back next week. We'll probably have more people on. Tyon, Courtney may be on. But we're going to do this every week talking to NFL. It's NFL right now, so that's the hot topic. We may do something NBA related because NBA Finals is going to be here real soon. Right. So stay tuned. But you guys have a great one. Peace.
Right. See you later.